Greetings and welcome to history and military study enthusiasts. This video is going to look at the Soviet-Afghan War of 1979 to 1989, a 10-year war that completely reshaped the landscape of Afghanistan. This video is going to look at the events that led up to the war, as well as the events of the war itself. Hi, my name is Siddharth Raghavan, and this is a contemporary analysis of the Soviet-Afghan War. Now, before we dive deep into the war itself, let's give a brief but relevant history of the country we know today as Afghanistan. Originally made up of tribes and communities, the landlocked country of Afghanistan has a long history of domination by foreign conquerors. Starting from the Mahmud of Ghazni to Genghis Khan, this region is the playground of geopolitical instability. The modern state of Afghanistan began in 1747 when the Durrani Empire established itself with its capital at Kandahar. The British Empire's arrival into Afghanistan in 1838 with the First Anglo-Afghan War and in 1878 with the Second Afghan War drew light into the strategic importance of this region. The goal of the British was to deflect Russian influence in establishing a strategic footing in Afghanistan. The irony being that later on, Afghanistan would eventually fight a war with the Soviet Union. Now that we have an understanding of the history of Afghanistan, let's look at the actual events that led up to the 1979 Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. In 1933, Zahir Shah became the monarch king of Afghanistan. The new king brought a semblance of stability to the country and ruled for the next 40 years. During his regime, certain significant events, such as the United States' formal recognition of Afghanistan and Britain's withdrawal from India, were witnessed. However, in the context of relevance to the Soviet Afghan War, a pro Soviet general who also happened to be the cousin of King Shah, named Mohammad Daoud Khan, became prime minister in 1953. Prime Minister Khan was known for his diplomatic friendliness with the Soviet Union as he looked to the communist bloc for economic and military assistance. Khan was also known for his outwardly social reforms that empowered women through greater public presence. This included the opportunity to attend university and join the workforce, as well as the right to vote and contest in ministerial elections. Amidst a communist political environment in Afghanistan, an Afghan Communist Party secretly formed in 1965 with its principal leaders being Babrak Karmal and Noor Muhammad Taraki. However, due to a difference in ideology, the party split in 1967 into two distinct factions, one with a traditional view of Marxist ideology and the other with the socialist view. 1973, Prime Minister Khan overthrew his cousin in a military coup, abolishing the monarchy and naming himself President and Prime Minister of the newly formed Republic of Afghanistan, which established firm ties to the USSR. Khan, however, was eventually killed 5 years later in another coup in which Taraki and Karmal became President and Prime Minister respectively. Another coup in 1979 saw a rivalry between Taraki and another influential leader of the party, Hafizullah Amin, who eventually killed and overthrew Taraki and named himself president of the party. Amin was known as the Afghan leader who strengthened his country's ties with the United States of America and Pakistan. By this point in the story, we can introduce the rebel forces that fought against the Soviets in the War of 1979. The Mujahideen refer to themselves as Muslims who fight on behalf of the faith or the Muslim community. A coalition of guerrilla groups, their origin story is simply one where an unpopular communist government and its purges of all domestic opposition led to resentment by the devoutly Muslim and anti-communist population. Insurgencies rose against the government among both tribal and urban groups, and from there forth grew the Mujahideen rebels, who became united by December of 1979. And now, the awaited moment, the Soviet invasion. On December 24, 1979, the USSR sent in some 30,000 troops and toppled the short-lived presidency of Hafizullah Amin. Their aim was to prop a new client state of the USSR headed by leader Babrak Karmal. The invasion was also under the pretext of upholding the Soviet-Afghan Friendship Treaty of 1978, as the Soviets believed that the Afghan government was too unstable and ill-equipped to rule the state. A massive military airlift into Kabul by the Soviets involved nearly 280 transport aircrafts and three divisions of almost 8,500 men each. Their strategy was similar to a large-scale pincer formation, in which Soviet troops made their way into Afghanistan from two border locations and circled the outer posts before infiltrating Kabul from the north and south, as shown on the map. Towards the end of the video footage, you may notice that Mujahideen rebel forces standing atop hills holding a shoulder-to-air rocket launcher. Let us look at this weapon that changed the entire war, the FIM-92 Stinger. Besides the obvious use of guerrilla warfare tactics combined with the use of weapons such as the AK-47, PK light machine guns, and RPG-7 anti-tank grenade launchers, the Mujahideen were able to neutralize Soviet air power through the use of the FIM-92 launcher. This handheld heat-seeking missile fell into the hands of the Mujahideen rebels in the mid-1980s when the US began covert supply of these easy-to-operate weapons through Pakistan's border with Afghanistan. The balance of power began to shift. After 15,000 Soviet soldiers killed in action and 2 million Afghan civilians killed, the war came to an end in 1988. After the ascent of Mikhail Gorbachev as leader of the Soviet Union, he realized how much the war was costing the USSR and so signed the Geneva Accords on 14 April 1988. Representatives of the governments of Pakistan and Afghanistan signed three bilateral agreements intended to end the war in Afghanistan. An additional declaration on international guarantees was signed by the United States and the Soviet Union as state guarantors to facilitate the withdrawal of the Red Army from Afghanistan. The accord contained provisions for the timetable of the withdrawal of Soviet troops from Afghanistan. The United States agreed to end its armed supports for the Afghan anti-Soviet factions, and Afghanistan and Pakistan agreed not to interfere in each other's affairs. With this, we come to the end of this video. I really do hope that you have a better understanding of this very symbolic war and how it fundamentally changed the landscape of Afghanistan. Thank you for your time.